The committee room was packed. Lawmakers lined the long, polished table, a tangle of microphones and nameplates before them. The audience seating was filled with reporters, aides, and a few curious members of the public. Television cameras rolled silently from all angles, catching every twitch of expression. At the center of the action, Congressman Jim Jordan leaned forward, sleeves rolled up, voice sharp with his usual combative energy. He pointed a finger as he launched into a string of rapid-fire questions, his tone growing increasingly self-assured. The witness tried to respond, but Jordan barreled over him, referencing a so-called second habeas provision as justification for his claims. The room stilled slightly, and a flicker of confusion crossed several faces. That term didn't sound right, because it wasn't. Representative Jasmine Crockett, sitting a few seats away, adjusted her glasses and leaned into her microphone. Her tone was calm, deliberate, and laced with just enough steel to cut through the air. "Mr. Jordan," she began, voice slicing through his soliloquy like a scalpel, "I hate to interrupt your performance, but I need some clarification." Jordan looked up, momentarily caught off guard. She continued, steady and composed. "You just referred to something called the second habeas provision. I've been practicing law for over a decade, and I've never heard of such a thing. Could you tell the committee where that appears in our Constitution or legal code?" Jordan shifted in his chair. His mouth opened slightly, then closed. A flicker of hesitation crossed his face. He reached for some papers in front of him but found no rescue in the shuffle. A low murmur rolled through the room, press tapping away at keyboards, staffers exchanging sidelong glances. Crockett didn't blink. "Because if we're going to sit here and question witnesses on legal principles, I think it's only fair that we rely on ones that actually exist." Jordan attempted to recover. "Well, I mean, it's a broader concept, it's understood in legal circles." "No," Crockett interjected, her voice firmer now. "It's not. Habeas corpus is very real. What you said is not. You're misrepresenting the law, and frankly, it's beneath the dignity of this committee." Silence. The cameras zoomed in. Crockett sat back slightly, her face unreadable. Jordan clenched his jaw, suddenly finding the weight of the moment much heavier than when he had first lunged for the mic. The hearing chair tried to move the discussion forward, but the moment hung in the air. The damage was done. The audience didn't cheer. It wasn't that kind of room, but the energy had shifted. Everyone knew it. The tension in the hearing room hadn't dissipated, it had evolved. After her pointed challenge, Jasmine Crockett now held the floor, and all eyes were on her. The cameras remained trained, anticipating what came next. A few lawmakers leaned forward slightly, sensing they were about to witness something memorable. Jasmine calmly reached into her leather folder and pulled out a small, worn copy of the U.S. Constitution. She held it up for everyone to see, not as a prop, but as a foundation. Her voice was steady, with that unmistakable clarity lawyers reserve for moments of precision. "Let's be very clear," she began. "Since my colleague introduced a legal term that doesn't exist, I think it's important we take a moment to revisit what does exist." She flipped it open and tapped a finger against the page. "Habeas corpus is not some vague concept floating around in legal circles. It's enshrined in Article 1, Section 9 of this very document. And while we're on the topic, there is no second habeas provision. That's not a thing. Not in this Constitution, not in statutory law, not in any legitimate case law." Across the room, Jim Jordan shifted uncomfortably in his seat. His usual swagger had cooled. He tried to interject. "With all due respect, Representative Crockett." "No," she said sharply, not looking away from the text. "You're not going to shout over me today. We're not in a wrestling ring. This is Congress. Let's act like it." The moment hit like a hammer. A few members from both sides looked stunned. A staffer in the back stifled a gasp. Even the stenographer paused for a fraction of a second, blinking before resuming her furious typing. Jasmine closed the Constitution and folded her hands on the desk. Her tone softened, but only slightly. "When you misuse legal terminology on a platform like this, it's not just embarrassing, it's dangerous. It misleads the public. It undermines the legitimacy of this body. And it disrespects the very system we were elected to protect." She looked Jordan squarely in the eye. "So, Mr. Jordan, if you're going to invoke the Constitution, at the very least, read it." The room was silent again, but this time it was heavy with recognition. Not a word from Jordan. Not a sound from the press benches, save the soft click of keyboards recording every syllable. Crockett didn't need to say anything else. She'd already said it all. Outside the committee chamber, the world was already buzzing. Reporters swarmed the hallway like bees to honey, microphones extended toward anyone who had just exited the hearing. Staffers whispered to one another in rapid tones, eyes wide. The moment had gone viral before the hearing even officially adjourned. On a nearby TV screen in the press gallery, cable news anchors were already replaying the clip of Jasmine Crockett's takedown. A chyron flashed across the bottom of the screen. Crockett checks Jordan, read the Constitution. Commentators laughed in disbelief, one of them saying, that was one of the cleanest legal smackdowns I've ever seen on the Hill. On social media, the clip of the exchange had rocketed to the top of trending charts within minutes. A 40-second video snippet, cut just as Crockett said, "We're not in a wrestling ring, this is Congress," was racking up millions of views by the hour. Twitter X was ablaze with hashtags. Hashtag Crockett clapsback. Constitution 101. Hashtag Jordangochuld. Hashtag LiveTVTakadown. Someone had already made a side-by-side meme. On the left, a screenshot of Jim Jordan blinking in confusion. On the right, Jasmine Crockett holding up the Constitution like a mic about to be dropped. The caption read, "When you bring wrestling moves to a courtroom battle." Even celebrities were weighing in. An Emmy-winning actor tweeted, "I've seen courtroom dramas less brutal than what Crockett just did to Jordan." A law professor posted a thread, "Let's break down why Jasmine Crockett was 100% correct, and why misuse of legal terms by elected officials is no small thing."